Just as I mentioned in yesterday's video, if we had a positive CPI report, that could very well be the catalyst that helps push Tesla stock upwards. And guess what we got for today? We ended up getting a positive CPI report coming out cooler than expected. And this was definitely one of the main factors why we ended up seeing Tesla stock push upwards today. In fact, if we also take a look at the S&P 500 index ETF, ticker symbol SPY, we saw that it also aggressively moved up. And on top of that, it also broke out of this descending trend line, which is absolutely very bullish. But along with that, we got a report from Wells Fargo saying that today's CPI report further reinforces our view that the last rate hike of this tightening cycle is behind us. And look guys, this is exactly what I've been saying on this channel for quite some time. I've been saying that look, the Fed does not need to hike rates any further, and also in fact we still haven't felt the true ramifications of all the previous rate hikes, as it does take time for it to make its way through the economy. So we still have previous rate hikes that still haven't made its way through the pipelines. And so this is why I've been saying that look, the Fed does not need to hike any further. But on top of all that good news, we also got news that Elon Musk is now backpedaling on the harsh Cybertruck resale guidelines. See, just yesterday I was covering how there was harsh guidelines for the Cybertruck reservations, where if you were to buy a Cybertruck, you were not allowed to sell it within the first year unless you wanted to get sued by Tesla for the amount around $50,000. However, today, things absolutely changed. In fact, we got this tweet from Sawyer Merritt showing how Tesla has removed all language from the page that said that you can't resell / flip your Cybertrucks within 1 year of delivery. And so this is absolutely good news, because a lot of the folks who had reservations for the Cybertrucks were a bit concerned and skeptical of the idea that they could buy this truck but weren't allowed to sell it within 1 year unless they wanted to get sued. And so this is definitely good news, especially for those individuals who were skeptical about the Cybertruck. Now again, it is also bad news, because there were some individuals who were kind of excited about this idea, because that means that many individuals were going to cancel their Cybertruck reservations, which means that they were most likely going to move up further in the list. And so for those individuals, maybe that's a little bit of bad news for them, but overall this is good news for Tesla. Now of course, I want to go ahead and break down the price action for Tesla stock and kind of just talk about what are some things that we should absolutely be aware of moving forward in regards to just looking at things from an economic perspective, but also from a technical perspective as well. However, before we go ahead and move on in this video, I just want to provide a friendly reminder that if you are not subscribed to the channel, consider tapping that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future uploads. And while you're at it, consider checking out the links in the description below, because one of the links is going to be a link for my free weekly market post insights, where every single week I send out an email talking about what we should be aware of as market participants. And again guys, it is completely free. It's going to be in the link in the description below, but I'm also going to pin it in the comment section below as well. Now of course, I want to go ahead and break down the price action for Tesla and talk about some areas we should be aware of looking forward. However, before we go there, we also did have a very special interview with Cathie Wood today, and she actually announces, or pretty much provides a reason behind why she's still bullish on Tesla but has been selling millions of dollars of shares in Tesla in the last 6 months.
Here's where we've learned how important Tesla's proprietary data is. It's 5 million robots around the world. Cruise didn't have anything like that. It had hundreds. 5 million robots around the world collect data every day and send it back to Tesla. Tesla has more corner cases, which means disengagements, accidents, information like that, than all the other companies in the world combined. And I have to tell you, watching the breakthroughs in AI that we are seeing, they are astounding, the speed at which this is moving. So it is interesting. I think it's a data issue. Autonomous taxi platforms are the biggest AI project in the world, and therefore we think Tesla is the
but you've sold Tesla shares, and it's, it used to be the #1 holding, I believe, in your ETF. It's now #3. You've sold about 20 million shares.
Yes.
Why?
So, well, whenever it goes up, it was up about 150% relative to our other names, many of which had not moved. So we will always recycle that way, take profits. And I would also say, listening to Elon on the last conference call, he's very concerned about the economy, as we are.
Cathie, will you Will I look outside 5 years from now and see GM and Ford EVs everywhere?
It's very interesting to hear both of them pull back saying,
but do you think, with this new way, I don't even know if we'll be talking about GM and Ford in 5 years.
What is interesting about the news that both of them are pulling back for profitability reasons, they can't be profitable in this space unless they scale. That's how this works.
It's a catch-22.
So it's catch-22, and their shareholder base is very internal combustion engine oriented, and they want their profits now, and they want their dividends now. And they don't want that kind of investment. So
how are they going to do it?
Losses.
Will they be able to?
I don't know. All I know is, back to the Tesla question, as they are pulling away, our market share expectations for Tesla go up.
Right.
You know, and so to answer the question, we sold as it was up 150% relative to everything else. We have not sold much since then. And it will, if we're right on this autonomous taxi opportunity, it will remain in the top 5 in our fund, in our flagship.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, we did have a lot of good news for Tesla stock as well as the positive CPI report. But as you heard from Cathie Wood, both her and Elon Musk on the last earnings call still have concerns of the macroeconomic environment. And this is something that I've been talking about for quite some time. See, look, I'm bullish on Tesla in the long term, but the thing is, we're still in a high interest rate environment. And yes, the market's very forward looking. And yes, we're now looking for when are we going to start cutting rates. But the fact is, rates are still elevated and it's still difficult to go ahead and finance a new car, which is bad for Tesla because Tesla is a company that's sensitive to the interest rates. Because of course, if consumers are battling inflation that yes, is still coming down, but it's still pretty high at the same time with rates being elevated, it makes it difficult to go ahead and go out and buy that new car, which could hurt Tesla stock from a fundamental perspective. Look, I always say it's important to look at the macroeconomic environment, also looking at things from a technical perspective, but we also have to understand what's currently going on in the economy and also the fundamentals, because at the end of the day, the fundamentals have a huge weighting on what actually takes place for a company. Now, yes, I'm bullish fundamentally for Tesla in the long term, as Cathie Wood has said, that the market share is actually going to continue growing because the legacy automakers, guess what? They have to please their shareholders by making profits, and they only make profits with the internal combustion engines. And so this is good for Tesla in the long term, but right now, yeah, there's some challenges for Tesla. Now over here, we see that yes, Tesla stock did push upwards. It broke above that area of resistance, that white line over here that I was talking about in many videos. And I also mentioned in yesterday's video that once Tesla broke out of this area of resistance, it was going to shoot up pretty hard simply because there was this area where there was very little volume relative to price. For example, if you look to the right, there's this volume pocket, meaning that there's less of an exchanging between buyers and sellers. And so if there's buying pressure at around that area, well, that could push Tesla stock upwards. It amplifies the movement. However, we start going to this area around $254.57 around there, where now the volume profile tends to be a little bit thicker, and that could create the next area of resistance for Tesla. And so while we're currently seeing a lot of bullish activity take place for the overall markets and also Tesla stock, one thing that I want us to be aware of is, yes, Tesla stock is moving up, but we still haven't broken out of this descending trend line. It's a long trend line that Tesla has been fighting for quite some time. And in fact, even before we go ahead and break out of that trend line, we still have that thick area of resistance where there's a lot of volume relative to price. And so that's something that we want to go ahead and monitor. Now, on a good note, we're also seeing the 10-year treasury yield start to come downwards, which I've shared on the channel a multitude of different times, that when the 10-year treasury yield is going downwards, well, guess what? That's good for the stock market. And when it's going upwards, well, that takes away the risk appetite for stocks. But right now we're seeing it currently go down. And so this is absolutely great news for the overall stock market. But with that said, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Before you guys go, by the way, make sure to check out this next video right over here, and I'll see you guys on that next video. Take care, guys.